Right, everybody, welcome back. We are still discussing Integrated Math 2's Practice 6. This is the backside, the homework, Part 2. And a moment ago, we were plugging in numbers into a square root function, and I've given you another one here on the homework, but this time I actually stuck a negative sign at the front of the function. All right? Now, the original looks like this, where it's the positive square root of x. Remember, we got this little wave. What would happen if we stuck a negative on front? Well, the first part is still the same. If we try to take negative 2 and plug it in right there, the first thing we'd have to do is square root negative 2, which is not possible. So negative 2 and negative 1, once again, we can throw out. We're not going to see any part of the graph here on the left-hand side. If we plug in 0, the square root of 0 is 0. I can try to make it negative 0, but it's still just 0. Doesn't really matter. If I take 1 and plug it in, well, the square root of 1 is 1, but then this negative sign would turn it into negative 1. The negative square root of 4, if I plug it in, the square root of 4 is 2, but the negative sign would make it negative 2. And then if I plug in 9, the negative square root of 9, square root of 9 is actually 3, and then the negative sign would make it negative 3. So again, I can plot the first point of 0, 0, the origin. Then 1, negative 1 would be to the right 1 and down 1. 4, negative 2 would be to the right 4 and down 2. And 9, negative 3 would be to the right 9 and down 3. If I were to connect these, we would see that this function looks like so. And notice that it basically looks the same way this one does, it's just been flipped over, right? We call that a reflection, and we're going to talk more about that next class, the fact that negative signs actually reflect your graphs. Down here we have some more plug and find. We need to find f of 9 into this function. This is 5 times the square root of x. So now it's 5 times the square root of 9. The square root of 9 is actually 3, and 5 times 3 is 15. Here we need to plug in negative 1, so we'd get the cube root of 2 times negative 1 plus 3. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, and negative 2 plus 3 is 1. So we end up with the cube root of 1, which is just 1. Next one, if we plug in 0 for x, we would get the square root of 0 minus 9. 0 minus 9 is negative 9, and we have already established that you cannot square root a negative, so this is not possible. Okay, not possible. F of 18 for this function, we would have 3 times the square root of 2 times 18 over 2. 2 times 18 is actually 36, so now we got 3 times the square root of 36 over 2. The square root of 36 is really 6, so now we have 3 times 6 over 2. 3 times 6 is 18, so we have 18 over 2, and that just turns out to be the number 9. Final one, we're going to plug in negative 8 here. We have the negative cube root of negative 8 plus 4 and then minus 6. Well, negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4. If I were to try to find out the cube root, right, of negative 4, I would discover that it's about negative 1.6. Now there's also a negative sign here, so this is negative. This turns out to be negative 1.6 and then minus 6. Back-to-back negatives actually turn that into a positive 1.6 minus 6. And if you subtract those, you end up with about negative 4.4. All right, I hope this helps, and I will see you guys next class.